For some parents in the U.S., it's a question in the fall. Should they vaccinate their children to send them to school? The American Academy of Pediatrics believes so and says that a measles outbreak that started at Disneyland a few years ago shows how fast childhood diseases can resurface if not enough children are protected. California and several states have since tightened their immunization requirements, but some parents are still pushing back. PBS special correspondent Lisa Stark of our partner Education Week reports from Vermont about the vaccine fight there. It's part of our weekly series, Making the Grade.
1, 2, 3, eyes on me. 1, 2, eyes on you.
7-year-old Marin Blake is a second grader at Champlain Elementary in Burlington, Vermont, a school her parents picked for her back in kindergarten, not because of class size or test scores, but based on how many students had all their vaccines.
When I took a look at the immunization rates for the schools in Burlington and also the kind of private schools in the area, I was really aghast about how low they were. That made me really anxious.
Mom Mia Hockett was anxious because Marin was in the midst of treatment for childhood leukemia, diagnosed just before her 4th birthday. The intensive chemotherapy compromised her immune system, making her vulnerable to diseases. School nurse Nancy Pruitt worked to keep Marin safe.
In her classroom, we made sure that the kids were vaccinated. We can't do that always, but we made sure that she had a classroom with kids that had been vaccinated.
Vaccinated against preventable illnesses, such as mumps, measles, whooping cough, chickenpox, and polio, which would have been especially dangerous for Marin.
I know that kind of a lot of people think that we don't really have these diseases, so we don't need to be afraid of them. But in that situation, when we're kind of thinking about, our child,
Hockett isn't just a mom, she's also a doctor. And she wanted a school with vaccination rates of at least 90 to 95%, which public health officials say is required to protect those who are vulnerable or can't be vaccinated. Christine Finley runs the immunization program for the state of Vermont.
When children are in school, they're in a setting where they're interacting broadly with one another. If you don't have a large percentage of the children vaccinated, then basically your shield isn't going to work because you've got places where a disease can begin to spread within a school.
Finley says by 2014, vaccine rates had dropped to alarming levels. At some public schools, as many as 20% of students without all the required shots. And at a dozen private schools, 50% not fully vaccinated.
All done, okay?
See, that was good.
I didn't feel that.
Vermont, like every state, requires vaccines to attend school, but like all states, allows exemptions. In every state, children can get waivers for medical reasons. 47 states permit families to skip vaccines for religious beliefs. 18 also allow for personal or philosophical exemptions. Some states are moving to tighten their laws, chief among them California, which in 2015 did away with all waivers except for medical exemptions. Kindergarten vaccination rates have jumped to the highest levels in more than 15 years. Nearly 96%.
The problem is, in many states, it's easier to get an exemption than it is to vaccinate your child.
Easier, says Daniel Salman with the Institute for Vaccine Safety at Johns Hopkins University, because parents simply sign a waiver request. Much less effort than getting children vaccinated.
So this one's for you and this one's for the school.
While nationally, most people vaccinate their children, and that's clearly the norm. We're starting to see communities where more and more parents are refusing vaccines.
Low vaccine rates in some communities are blamed for 3 large measles outbreaks in the past 4 years. One in Ohio, one that began in Disneyland and spread to 7 states, and another this year in Minnesota. Are your children vaccinated?
No, they're not.
Ariel Brewer-Louis is a Vermont mom of 3. We caught up with her during an event for those who question the safety and efficacy of vaccines. She told her story on board a bus that's traveling the nation to promote an anti-vaccine documentary and record vaccine testimonials.
I have 3 girls.
Brewer Louis recalled that decades ago, her brother may have had a serious reaction to a vaccine, according to their mother.
It must have planted a seed because when my first was born, I just said no. I just opted out.
Parents say they forego some or all vaccines for their children for a variety of reasons. They're worried about the number of doses, the crowded vaccine schedule, and past claims of a link to autism, which have been discredited. Jennifer Stella runs the Vermont Coalition for Vaccine Choice. Are you anti-vaccine?
I think I've been called anti-vaccine a lot, haven't I? I'm pro-choice. I think that everybody should have a choice.
Stella says her 2 children reacted badly after receiving several immunizations. Her son cried incessantly, stopped nursing, and seized in her arms. And her daughter had head-to-toe rashes.
I don't think that vaccines are safe enough for my children.
Pediatrician Jill Reinhardt says vaccines are extremely safe and effective.
I mean, there's not much that I do every day for children that saves lives. Immunizations are something that I do every day that I know makes a huge difference.
Reinhardt and other doctors helped push the state to tighten Vermont's vaccine laws. So did Hockett, with Marin in tow. In 2015, lawmakers eliminated the state's philosophical exemption. Parents can still opt out for religious or medical reasons. Partly because of the change in law, Brewer Louis is homeschooling her 8-year-old. But she is relying on the religious exemption to send another daughter to preschool. What is your religious objection to vaccines?
I don't have a religious objection to vaccines, but that's my only option. And the way I see it, I have done my research, and there's no way I'm going to vaccinate my children to send them to school.
What do you say to people who say to you, I should have the right not to vaccinate my child?
Right. I absolutely agree with that, but none of this legislation actually forces somebody to get immunized. What it says is that if you are opting out of your right and responsibility to vaccinate, then you also have to bear the burden of opting out of the benefits of organized education.
Here in Vermont, parents have at most 6 months from the start of school to either make sure their child has all the required vaccinations or to claim an exemption. If they don't, that child is no longer welcome at school. School nurse Pruitt says no student has been excluded from her school yet, but some have come close. She believes the new law has had an impact.
So we had a 2.3% increase on our student body being fully vaccinated.
And do you think that's because of the change in law?
I do.
As for Hockett, she's focused on a return to normalcy. Marin is considered cured of leukemia, and in August was deemed healthy enough to resume her vaccines.
Good girl, sweetie. Good girl. Yeah, you're all done. And a Wonder Woman Band-Aid.
Lowered it in the air.
So this school year, Marin's parents hope she can count on her own immunity, not just others, to stay healthy. For the PBS NewsHour and Education Week, I'm Lisa Stark in Burlington, Vermont.